Why would you ever want to go through life with no birthday cake or no ice cream in the summer? If food isn't just about fuel, it's not just about, eating healthy. Food is about love and about community and about joy and you should have peace with that.
First of all, you, like so many gals that I interview, you get a lot of pushback from people complaining about how you go about exposing diet fads or false and misleading information. I mean, I don't know how you can, drop the bad news in a nice way, but it's a fad, it's misinformation. And many people are so emotionally attached to their influencers or their anecdotal evidence. And I mentioned earlier when we were offline that I read about a gal complaining, that your statement that it's a fallacy that sugar causes high insulin, and she's saying, but what about me? I have an addiction to sugar. She eats a little bit of sugar and then she kind of can't stop herself. And, meanwhile, in Nature magazine, it says clearly that there's no scientific data on sucrose, which allows, linking sucrose to diabetes, which allows the conclusion to be drawn out that it has a detrimental effect on glycemic control or type 2 diabetes. When we're talking about isocaloric exchanges of sucrose for any other starch. So for you, we can go on and on about the science, and which I know you love to do, but, for the woman, for this kind of example, like what would your suggestions be for her situation that doesn't involve demonizing sugar?
So many people take an extreme view of nutrition. So it's either all of it, the sugar, or none of the sugar. And I think it's in part because so many influencers and personalities out there, especially on social media, use fear and anxiety as tactics to sell a narrative. And sugar is a great example of this. When some person who a lot of people follow say, if you eat sugar, you're poisoning yourself. It's toxic. It causes all of these diseases. It makes people anxious, and then they naturally want to go the complete opposite direction. So they go to the other end of the spectrum, and they become, anti-sugar basically for everything. They cannot accept the fact that there's a gray area that most of us do best in, right? And that's how I operate my practice, is in the gray area. And I teach people how to exist in that nutrition gray area where you don't eliminate any foods and you don't, only eat certain foods, but you find joy in eating. And so, to someone like that influencer, I would just, after communicating the research, which sometimes doesn't work because people either don't understand research or they create an identity that is focused on their diet. So, you're basically insulting them in their eyes if you tell them that what they're doing is wrong. I would, explain to them that they don't have to cut anything out of their diet, and that, the negatives of cutting out all of the foods, for example, with sugar from their life, it will supersede the any kind of potential positives. Like, think of it this way. Why would you ever want to go through life with no birthday cake or no ice cream in the summer or in the winter? Because I like ice cream anytime. These foods, if food isn't just about fuel, it's not just about, eating healthy. Food is about love and about community and about joy and you should have peace with that. And so, I try to steer people in that direction. But that being said, Michelle, there's always people you're never going to reach. And I don't die on those hills because that's just not my job.
I love that. I don't die on those hills. So digging a little deeper then, because this is a hot topic, whether it's sugar or whether it's, anything else in the diet that is the current flavor for bad. when people are tugged by a certain food item that they're struggling with, and that's kind of a trigger for them, or that they feel is a trigger for them, how do you guide them to be confident in that gray
Yeah.
space?
So a lot of people have food triggers such as pasta or bread or candy or those types of foods because they've been told again and again and again that they shouldn't be eating them. I mean, for example, I have a client right now. I do one-to-one counseling, and I have a client now who was told for probably decades that she shouldn't be eating pasta because Weight Watchers said that she shouldn't eat it, and so it's become this like mythical thing in her life where she like if she ever ate pasta, she would overeat it because she'd be like, I got to get it all in now because I'm eating, it's wrong for me to eat it. So what I do is I get people to slowly expose themselves to the trigger food. So it becomes just another food. Right. So, I mean, certainly there are foods that we find more attractive. I love Easter cream eggs. If I have them in the house, like I do eat them, but, after keeping them in the house for, an extended period of time, I don't give a crap about them anymore. And I feel like for the majority of people, this is the case. Once you expose yourself to these foods on a regular basis, and you tell yourself like, it's okay to eat them, they just become another food and the attractiveness it vanishes.
So we're actually segueing into this idea about emotional eating already. So I'll reserve that for the next question after this, because it's very close to home for our own coaching services. I mean, we really focus on cultivating the athlete mindset, but we do have people coming in that are struggling around what they call trigger foods, and we use a macro-based approach, which I don't know if that's going to be okay under your radar, but I coach, when you understand the mathematical language of food, then it opens up a wide palette for you. And then you have to be your own scientist. You have to, kind of try foods, and does it work? Does it not work? Do you get the results you want? Does it make you feel good? Not only when you're eating it, like an hour after you're eating it, the next day, and all of that. But for some gals, they really fall hard, and they keep trying and experimenting. We actually roll out about week 3. We roll out what we call social eating. So you're actually going to go out and eat, and you're not going to make the food. You're not going to cook it. You're not going to plug it in, and you're just going to sit with it while you have a coach walking you through, like, how did you feel and what happened and all of that. And we get a lot of pushback from clients. Like, I don't want to do it. I'm doing great. I'm afraid to do that. A lot of people just have a blast, and it becomes a very successful way for them to have that balance that they're looking for and to experiment with not following any kind of a plan and developing that kind of intuitive eating. But sometimes people fall down, and we'll try again. All right, let's eat the hamburger again. And sometimes it spirals. I remember this one great gal, she had a hamburger, and then she ate her boyfriend's fries, and then she went home and she had like a chocolate bar, and it was that, I can't stop myself. And by the third time, like you said, she was fine. She was like, oh, it's easy now, because it was a trigger food where this is the only time she could have it. Oh my God, get it all in, or whatever emotions that it triggered.
Yeah. It's an all or nothing mentality. But I also find that when people are restricted, I mean, they just feel so guilty. And when they when they're following like a very tight plan, like it's a very niche population that you're counseling, right? And so you're looking for a certain outcome. But for the majority of people, like if they deviate from what they feel is the right thing, it creates this situation where it's like, oh, I feel guilty. I feel shame. I'm a bad person for doing X or eating X. And then I'm just going to like go crazy. And it's hard. And another thing that happens is that when people are following like a very regimented nutrition plan, it does happen that after a while they feel very very, what's the right word? Like stuck by it. Like they don't trust themselves to eat outside of that plan. And it becomes a thing where they need to keep that plan for the long term, whatever it is, because they're afraid that without it, they can't decide for themselves what to eat. They can't trust their body to like tell them how much to eat and when to eat. And so there's so many things around food. It's so complex, which is, another part of my whole like social media presence is people who oversimplify nutrition. And I'm like, you can't just oversimplify this stuff. Like there's so many facets that, and if you don't know what you're talking about, you shouldn't like be putting your crap on social media and trying to advise people, because you can really like do damage.